I am I am I am all in for Jamie Oliver. Cause honestly, like I actually know very little about Jamie Oliver beyond what like I kind of like in a way I know who Jamie Oliver is. The only commentary I've ever heard about regarding Jamie Oliver is Uncle Roger. That's like the one piece of commentary. And he did try to do this whole thing of trying to introduce healthy foods or healthy meals into schools, but there was some fucking screw up with that. I don't remember what it was exactly. He's a chef, Canito. He is a British chef. Yeah, like Mose, that's what I heard. Is I thought he actually did that in America. I thought he actually did the whole school lunches things in America. They threw out kids' homemade food. Oh my, okay. Yeah, like Jamie Oliver had this idea, like he wanted to do this, oh, let's get the kids eating healthy in school, and his menus were like ungodly expensive that they couldn't afford, or something like that. Like, it's just, I'm sure he'll probably go into this. I have zero doubt that he'll go into it and talk about that, but yeah, Jamie Oliver is like one of the most hated celebrity chefs. Uh, okay. Yeah, and that's another thing I've heard most, that his menus are not good. Like I said, the one thing I do know about him is when he is that Uncle Roger roasted the fuck out of him when he tried to make what was it, fried rice? He tried to do like fried rice at home, and he did like chili jelly or like I think it was like chili jelly of some sort, and Uncle Roger like lost his shit with watching Jamie Oliver, as much as Uncle Roger can lose his shit. Yeah, he's chili jam, that's what it was. Thank you, Matt. Yes. He did chili jam in fried rice, and Uncle Roger put his leg down. And if you know Uncle Roger putting his leg down, that's tantamount to someone going through the fucking roof. So that's kind of the most I know about it. So let's take a look.
Throughout Jamie Oliver's career, he's become a divisive figure, pissing off a generation of school kids and culinary wizards.
I can't wait for our paths to cross, and I'll remind him what he said, because I'll wipe the floor with him. I really will.
He's the boy who lived but didn't get...
He pissed off Marco? Oh, that's not good. If Jamie Oliver pissed off Marco, I forget Marco's last name off the top of my head. For those of you that do not know who I'm talking about, this gentleman here, Marco, and if someone remembers his last name, please give me his last name. I only know him as Marco. Marco Pierre, thank you. Marco Saint-Pierre, this gentleman right here, was the mentor of Gordon Ramsay, and when Gordon Ramsay basically apprenticed under Marco, Marco made Gordon Ramsay cry, from what I understand. Now, granted, Gordon Ramsay was a very young chef at the time. So, like, this is when Gordon was probably in his, like, early 20s. Or Marco Pierre White, yes, that's what it is, Mose, yes. So, Marco Pierre Chef is, like, he is, like, one of the OG badass chefs. Like, when you hear the Gordon yelling in the kitchen, Marco's worse. He is like he is an OG, I will fuck your world and everything in it if you do not get my dishes correct, chef.
Because I'll wipe the floor with him. I really will.
He's the boy who lived but didn't get any Michelin stars. From day one, he's been the golden boy of the TV food world, despite not having the same pedigree as some of his peers, which has often ruffled a few feathers.
So he hated me, and this is what happens time and time again. And then became me.
He's younger than Gordon. Oh.
Jamie was born on the 27th of May 1975 in Clavering, Essex. He grew up surrounded by food.
Well, no, like Gordon in the kitchen can yell, but yeah, Marco. If you're talking about Marco, I don't think yelled so much as he would just cut you to ribbons with his words. Gordon is kind to everyone. Not just kids. Gordon is actually kind to everyone. If you've ever seen Gordon outside of the Fox TV shows, he's completely different. That's why like the Kitchen Nightmares in the UK is vastly different than the Kitchen Nightmares in the US. The Kitchen Nightmares in the US basically told Gordon to dial the shit up to 11 and beyond. Gordon, Kitchen Nightmares in UK, Gordon is much more calm. He does not yell very much in Kitchen Nightmares UK. He's very calm, he's firm, and he's stern, but he doesn't really do all that much yelling. And outside of the programs, he is absolutely a sweetheart with everyone that he encounters. He's yelling when he's putting on an act, or you're really screwing things up. Exactly. Yes. And I have seen the Hot Ones with Gordon. That's a great Hot Ones episode.
As his parents Trevor and Sally owned a local pub called the Cricketers. It was at this pub where he was exposed to the fast-paced kitchen environment from an early age, spending much of his childhood helping out in the kitchen, absorbing the skills and techniques that would later define his cooking style. After leaving school, Jamie attended the prestigious Culinary School, Westminster College, where he honed his skills and developed a deeper understanding of classical cooking techniques. Despite many critics like myself, Jamie did actually work in several high-profile restaurants in London after graduating. One of his most formative points in his career was his role as a pastry chef at Antonio Carluccio's Neal Street restaurant. It was at this restaurant where Jamie gained two mentors, Gennaro Contaldo and Antonio himself. The pair were both highly respected chefs who specialised in the staples of Italian cuisine. It was during this time under Antonio and Gennaro that their philosophies began to infect Jamie and ignite his love for Italian food, developing a deep appreciation for simple, fresh ingredients that would later all become the base of Jamie's Italian empire. At the age of 23, Jamie moved from Neal Street to another well-known Italian restaurant.
Wait, is Jamie Oliver primarily an Italian chef? Like, is that his primary, like dishes of choice? Then really, I didn't think that was his primary focus. Huh. Okay. Really? Well, righty then.
Restaurant in London called the River Cafe, which was run by British chef Ruth Rogers and her business partner Rose Gray. This experience working as a sous chef at the River Cafe proved to be a major turning point in his career, as not only did the restaurant emphasize on high quality, seasonal ingredients, which further embedded Jamie's approach to food, it was also where he caught the eye of TV producers. In 1997, the BBC was filming a documentary called Christmas at the River Cafe, which featured Jamie working along Ruth.
We've got a menu that changes twice a day, and it's extremely seasonal. It can change in a matter of days and weeks to hold what we can get hold of, you know. Bit of parsley, we got dill that we picked earlier, the sorrel in here. And as far as I'm concerned as a chef, you know, it's the best job, because not only do we have new things to cook every day, but we actually have a hand in writing the menu as well.
Jamie's natural charisma and relaxed style of cooking stood out to the TV executives of the documentary, which soon led to them approaching Jamie with the opportunity to develop his own cooking show.
Jesus! Oh my god, that is fucking nightmare fuel right there. Chat. Take it in. Take it in. Let it into your brain. Let this haunt your nightmares.
Jamie with the opportunity to develop his own cooking show, which meant switching out the stress-filled environment of a commercial kitchen to the pampered world of TV. But looking after yourself is something that usually takes a back seat for a lot of
I thought Phat Memer was a sub-channel of Sunny V2. This is not Sunny V2. Oh my god. Chat, my mind is blown right now. Phat Memer and Sunny V2 are actually two different people. I thought they were the same person. No, Revan, they always sounded this. They always sounded so much alike. Like, these two always sounded so much alike. They're, like, very similar. Why? Okay. No, it's not that they're British, Revan. That's no.
Jaime Oliver has a face only a
That-
mother could love.
Oh my god, JFC, the misspelling on that. The misspelling on that. Street. If it's different, like the tone is so subtly different, I thought it was the same person on both channels. But now that I'm thinking about it, his tone is a slightly deeper. Now that you have mentioned it, it is a bit deeper. Just barely.
That
Just
image of
barely.
that Oliver dude Hans gets safe Flamenwer for ready cheer 180.
Chefs and men in particular. Low energy, loss of muscle and strength, unexpected weight gain, and even a drop in sex drive could all be
At
signs
time.
of low testosterone. To perform at my best making these videos, I'm big on
yes,
staying
thank you,
fit,
Leo.
hitting the gym, getting good nutrition, and getting enough sleep. And we've all heard a million times how these things are key to a good lifestyle. It's not just about big muscles and sex. If
Well,
you're feeling sluggish and
GBP,
low on motivation,
Napoleon
don't
Dynamite
shrug
is
it
fine.
off.
It's
You
just
might
funny
be among the 90%
because
of men with
he misspelled
undiagnosed low
Jamie's name. It
testosterone.
came
But
through
the
his
good news
Jaime.
is that getting tested for low testosterone
That's
is
what I was
super
laughing
easy
about.
with manual, which means
Yeah,
you don't have to
most-
visit a weird
you're not
doctor
wrong.
with a long needle. It takes just a few
You're not
minutes
wrong.
and then you send it off through the post. Soon you'll get clear, expert-reviewed result, and if needed, a personalized testosterone replacement therapy service plan to get you back to feeling like yourself again. So if you've been feeling off, struggling in the gym, or seeing changes in your body, don't just accept it. Get your levels checked today by clicking the link in the description of this video using my promo code FAT45 for a 45%
That was
discount
the
on
that's
the initial
the
home
Fat
test kit.
Memer. Oh wait, the other buff guy. Well,
In 1999,
testosterone.
a fresh-faced 26-year-old Jamie created The Naked Chef. Despite the title, the show wasn't about cooking without clothes on, but rather stripping food down to its bare essentials. Obviously taking a lot of inspiration from his work experience, the idea of the show was to make simple, fresh, and easy-to-make meals. It was a massive success, leading to multiple seasons and the publication of his first cookbook under the same title. The book then became a bestseller. It particularly resonated with the younger generation and beginners who found traditional cooking intimidating.
Okay.
I'll be real, I think every single household had this book at one point in time. There wasn't a mum who didn't fall for this charming young man's propaganda. Within the space of a year,
That's
Jamie
good,
had gone from a
Congo.
complete unknown to TV's golden boy. In the same year as Jamie bursting onto the scene, another chef from across the pond was beginning his own journey into fame.
Oh, is this what I think it is? Yeah.
This chef
Oh, yeah.
is called Anthony Bourdain, arguably one of the coolest and most troubled
God.
chefs to ever live. Now known
We lost Anthony Bourdain far too soon. Yeah, it is so sad that we lost him so soon. That's just, and how we lost him. True. Krynos, Anthony Bourdain is a chef from New York. Very world-renowned chef, and he did a lot of shows. He like went across the world, doing cooking shows. I don't know if we're gonna hear him speak. He has a very familiar voice if you hear him speak. And unfortunately, it was about, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was? He self-deleted. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. And the cooking world, the culinary world lost a great chef that day. He basically got to go all over the world, eat all kinds of food, comment on it. He did cooking shows. Was it 2018? I thought it was. Okay, God, how time flies. So, yeah, he was suffering from depression, I believe. and he ended up self-deleting, but he was a fantastic chef, world-renowned, great personality, and we lost him too soon. Okay, for those who are not, how many of you guys saw The Big Short? A place where a lot of people may have seen him. How many of you saw the movie The Big Short? He had a brief cameo in The Big Short, where they're talking about one of the bullshit things that Wall Street does in terms of stocks and trading and stuff. They actually cut to him explaining how how Wall Street does these bullshit shenanigans by equating it to food. Okay, Desdar. And, well, I don't think he was doing short selling. I think he was talking about, like, doing diversifying of, investments or whatever. I forget the exact feature he was talking about, but he equated it to food. And that's where I think a lot of people may know him from, is a very brief, like, couple-minute cameo where he does this explanation, but that's where a lot of people might know him from.
Primarily for combining his fascinating perspective on travel through the lens of food, Anthony worked for decades in the turbulent restaurant industry, working a whole number of jobs while battling addictions. This unfiltered knowledge of knowing what it's really like to live and work in the underbelly of the restaurant world, along with his burning passion for writing, led him to write an article for The New Yorker, titled "Don't Eat Before Reading This." The brutally honest and witty article led to him getting a book deal, allowing him to expand on his experiences. This book, of course, went on to become his iconic memoir, Kitchen Confidential, which detailed stories of drug-fueled shifts, fights, and the cutthroat nature of the business. The book went on to top the New York...
Like Anthony Bourdain is probably... Anthony Bourdain is probably closer to what people think Gordon Ramsay is in the kitchen, in terms of the yelling and being an asshole. Anthony Bourdain is actually probably closer to that than Gordon Ramsay himself. He was very, in the kitchen, I believe he could be very brash, very abrasive. That was what everybody expected Gordon to be in the kitchen, but that's, I think, how Anthony Bourdain actually was in the kitchen, if I'm remembering correctly.
Times bestseller list, and overnight was considered a cultural phenomenon and a complete game changer in the food writing genre. This ultimately led to TV opportunities and launched Anthony into stardom at the mature age of 43. However, being a lover of the UK and the food scene at that point in time, Anthony gave his opinion on Jamie Oliver. Hairless young blonde lad named Jamie Oliver, who is referred to as the Naked Chef. As best as I can comprehend, he's a really rich guy who pretends to scoot around on a Vespa, hangs out in some East End cold-watered flat, and cooks green Thai curry for his mates. He's a TV chef, so few actually eat his food. I've never seen him naked. I believe the term naked refers to his simple, straightforward, unadorned food, though I gather a great number of matroni housewives would like to believe otherwise. Every time I watch his show, I want to go back in time and bully him at school. In a recent podcast interview with Louis Theroux,
he clearly has thoughts. He had thoughts about Jamie Oliver. But then, this is what happens when you have a New Yorker from the 80s who basically, was in the fucking trenches to make his way to where he is now, see Jamie Oliver on the television being, a pretty boy chef. Anthony's just like, yeah, this is a guy, nice pretty boy chef. Put him in a real fucking kitchen, put him on the line, and actually let him go to town instead of having him in these little highfalutin, on the TV or whatever. Anthony Bourdain, he's a New Yorker, and he was a New Yorker in the true sense of the word, and they don't fuck around.
Jamie responded to Bourdain's opinions of the Naked Chef and how it felt to be disrespected by someone he really admired.
You meet people you love, and often they clearly think you're a wanker. I mean, Anthony was a tough one for me because the first book that I ever nearly read. So, like, from a dyslexic point of view, like, it's not that I can read, of course. Like, if you give me a recipe, I can read. It's like I'm on that. Words, you know, they're tracking them, and just concentration's tricky. But to commit to a narrative book and be part of that story and be submerged into it, I've never had. It's not an emotion that I do through audiobooks, but literally got just over halfway through. I was going to read my first book at the age of 27, and I'm not exaggerating, I was on my honeymoon, and as I put the book down on the Amalfi Coast with my new wife, double-page spread just absolutely brutally destroyed me. And I'm like, it's happened again. I never finished the book because it was just like, you know, how can I? Like, it was just like, shit. But also, he was cool, and I really loved his work. And, you know, actually, I kind of felt that a lot of the TV that he made felt like some of the energy that you had in your work, and I just loved it. It was sort of under the skin of things, and it was about culture. And I loved him to bits, but I knew he thought I was a wanker. So that's quite hard to swallow. So you just sort of have to almost forget it.
In the memoir, Tony...
Wait. Okay. I got, out of all that word vomit, I caught two things out of that. One, he doesn't read for whatever reason. He's saying he's not dyslexic, but he cannot get into books. And thus he doesn't read. He was going to finish his first book at the age of, like, in his mid-20s. He was going to finish his first book, which was Anthony Bourdain's. That requires an explanation. How the fuck did you get through school if you can't finish a book? Because last I checked, part of going through school means reading a book. Yeah, and for him, it wasn't he didn't have dyslexia. I think he had ADHD. No, Tase, when you just said he's not dyslexic, what he was describing sounds more like ADHD. Because he just said, hang on, let me play it back to what he said. There we go.
Give me a recipe, I can read. It's like I'm on that. Words, you know, they're tracking them, and just concentration's tricky. But to commit to a
Concentrate. That's ADHD. Well, listen again.
And be part of that story.
Let me see.
And be submerged into it. I've never had. It's not an emotion that I do through audiobooks, but literally got just over halfway through. I was going to read my first book at the age of 27.
I don't know. He said I was going to read my first book at the age of 27. Yeah, that sounds like ADHD. ADD, ADHD. Well, you know, whichever the classification is. Yeah. Like, he couldn't get himself immersed in stories, and he couldn't focus. Yeah. That's ADD, ADHD. Okay. But here's the thing. There's something more too, because he's like, okay, I was reading this book, and then, well, Seb, it's like not being able to get into a book, it's not that unusual, like where it's tough for you to get into a story. But he's saying, like, I did not read my first book until the age of 27. The way he posed it sounded like he couldn't focus. He has trouble staying on focus, which is what made me think, no, Potato, I honestly don't think it's his nose is up his ass. I think it's a legitimate issue where it possibly, I mean, Zeb, there's like, who knows if he's ever been diagnosed or anything. Well, yeah, and he was reading Anthony Bourdain's book, and then he looks over and sees Anthony Bourdain roasting him. And then he's like, well, now I can't finish this book. To me, that's part two, is he got so butthurt by Anthony Bourdain saying something mean to him, he's like, I can't finish the book now. That's... I'm not gonna say it's childish, but it's like, okay, dude, you've been a chef on TV for a while now. This cannot be the first time someone has roasted you. considering you are on TV. And I don't know. Eesh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Zep, I'm kind of waffling back and forth. It's like, okay, I can kind of see it because you're reading Anthony's book and then Anthony roasts you in a paper. But at the same time, it's like he's been in the public eye for some time right now. By this point, he's been in the public eye. This cannot be the first time he's been roasted. And if his skin is still this thin by this point, it's like, well, I mean, it was you. Yeah, true. No, he said he was 27, and by the time he was 27, he'd already been on TV at this point, I think. He'd done his whole naked chef thing. He was already been on TV as the naked chef. That was the whole article that Anthony Bourdain was writing about, or was quoted in, was regarding him being the naked chef. The naked chef. So he'd already been in the public eye for some time. You would think he'd develop a bit of a thicker skin. That's what I'm saying. I mean, these people were writers of books he was reading. I know. Like I said, all I'm saying is I think he should have, this is a bit thin-skinned of him. A little bit. I mean, that's why I'm waffling, Brandis. Like, I can't appreciate that. He is a big fan of Anthony, and it's thin-skinned, but I can
Jamie
also kind
Oliver
of see
should have
it.
grown a pair.
Well, it is thin-skinned, but I also can kind of understand it because he was a fan of Anthony Bourdain and Anthony Bourdain and Sultan, so I can see it come in both ways. And I'm waffling now because I can actually see it in both ways. So yeah, and Zeb, that's why I'm saying I can see it in both. That's why I'm saying I can see it from both sides of it. So yeah. Okay. I was starting off going like, okay, he's he's butthurt about this, but the more I'm talking about it, the more I realize this is legitimate for him, that in this specific circumstance, that like it is understandable, and I'm being unjustly harsh about it. I am. I recognize that I'm being unjustly harsh about it in this specific instance. So, never mind. I was being a bitch, and I was being unfair. So we will continue on.
Memoir, Tony would continue. The big dogs in England, the good guys, the people actually cooking in restaurants, which is what chefs are supposed to do, isn't it? The folks actually fighting the good fight are what's really interesting about the English food scene. Swaggering, eccentric, aggressive, competitive, often brilliant. The big dogs Tony is referring to is of course the Jedi and apprentice pairing of Margot Pierre White and Gordon Ramsay. If you want to find out about their origin story and bitter rivalry, I made a separate video which you should definitely check out. However, over the course of Jamie's career, he hasn't exactly made things easy for himself PR-wise, getting himself involved in controversial campaigns and in drama with the big dogs. In 2007, Jamie branded Marco Pierre White as a psychological bully for his behaviour towards contestants on Hell's Kitchen, which went well.
I stepped in.
Yes. So, for those of you that don't know, Hell's Kitchen did not start with Gordon. It did not. Hell's Kitchen started with Marco Pierre White. And then Fox talked to Gordon and said, how would you like to do that in the US? And so Gordon did Hell's Kitchen in the US, but it started with Marco. Fun fact, huh?
well.
I stepped into the kitchen after 7.5 years into Hell's Kitchen, and I inspired people to want to cook. I was not a psychological bully, and I'd like him to see him say it to my face, because I'll wipe the floor with him. I really will. I can't wait for our paths to cross, and I'll remind him what he said.
If those
Oh,
words
boy.
weren't harsh enough, Marco's protege Gordon Ramsay also had a complex relationship with the new
Oh,
kid on
here
the
we
block,
go.
publicly trading barbs with Jamie throughout his career. It all started in 2009, when Jamie criticised Ramsay for comparing Australian journalist Tracy Grimshaw to a pig. While Gordon did extend an apology to the journalist, he didn't hold back his views about Jamie, branding him as a one-pot
Oh, here we go.
wonder, and that everything just kind of gets mixed in, hands in. It's a very different style to me. He sticks it in the oven, comes back 3 hours later, and it's done. We cook differently. I use basic ingredients taken up with a lot more excitement, but competition is healthy. It's good to have that kind of rivalry. Many stabs would be
Okay.
made by both chefs throughout the years, with Jamie
Honestly, like, I don't know if this is supposed to be considered a jab at him. This is like, okay, I don't know if he's classifying this as a jab or a barb at Jamie Oliver. This is quite mild. If it's supposed to be a barb, it's very mild. Where he's saying that Jamie is, that Jamie is kind of more basic. He's kind of, showing the very basics of it. Whereas Gordon, we've seen Gordon do cooking, and Gordon is in there like every step of the way. Gordon's got a lot of energy when he does it, so he has a much more energetic way of teaching cooking in his shows. It's like, okay, I'll agree it's kind of passive aggressive. Generally speaking, it's mild. Take you Killjoy. This is like, I don't think like this isn't a rups like what Anthony Bourdain did. This is pretty mild. It's a bit backhanded. I will agree it's a bit backhanded because of the first part of this. It's generally speaking mild.
have that kind of rivalry.
Oh,
Many stabs
Kevin.
would be made by both chefs throughout the years, with Jamie saying that Gordon's wife Tina's cookbook was better than anything that he produced, and Gordon critiqued his attempts to move into the fine dining space, calling Jamie a cook rather than a chef, and also throwing shade at his political activism. It's all very well to spout off now about sugar tax and supermarkets. None of that was spoken about when he was label slapping with Sainsbury's for 10 years. And no disrespect,
Oh,
but
boy.
the chefs, we're not politicians. When you breathe that
Yes.
stuff down the public's throat and say, I'm leaving if we have Brexit, then I'm sorry, the door stands open.
Yes.
Stand for what you say. Sadly, the only time he opens his mouth is when he's got something to promote.
Fucking based. Absolutely fucking based right there. He is Gordon, as normal, is 100% correct. You are a chef. You are not a politician. Leave the politics for, in the privacy of your family or in, or in your private gatherings. Leave it the fuck out of your business. Leave it the fuck out of your work. Your job is not to be a politician. Your job is to cook shit. And no one wants a fucking chef who's too busy spouting off about politics to make good food. The absolutely fucking based Gordon right here. And I love this here. He's like, I'm leaving if we have Brexit, the door stands open, which is the British way of saying, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, motherfucker. Fucking based.
He's got something to promote. Despite this, they have both acknowledged each other's influence on the culinary world, and Gordon even offered his sympathies at the collapse of Jamie's Italian empire. However, their vastly contrasting styles and approach to food would seem is what's kept them from fully bonding. If you contrast all this with an episode from one of Bourdain's earliest TV shows, where he visits Ramsay's restaurant in London, it's clear to see there's almost a brothers-in-arms bond and respect between the chefs.
Gordon Ramsay is considered to be the best chef in England. End of story.
He's operating at a pitch and at a level that requires nothing but excellence. Famously abrasive and brilliantly talented.
It's a pain in the ass to make a great consomme, but Gordon's done it. The caviar only makes it that much better.
That should stuff him. But knowing him, he's like a horse, so I'm sure he'll find room somewhere.
Oh my God. Look how the beef breaks. Oh yeah. He's walking that tightrope between perfect and overkill. I like that. This is one of the best things I've eaten ever. It really is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that is high fucking praise coming from Anthony. This is a man who has traveled all over the world for food and is a chef himself. That is high fucking praise for him to say this is the best thing I've ever had. Beautiful.
My trip to London has been an enlightening experience. Today's British cuisine embraces traditions that are the best of both old and new.
I can imagine for a lot of these elite chefs, their thought process of Jamie is like being a soldier without seeing battle. Are you even really a soldier if you don't do what you're trained for? Despite the initial harsh words from Bourdain in his writing, Anthony publicly praised Jamie's school food revolution in his book Medium Raw. Jamie Oliver puts his money where his mouth is. He clearly preferred to be an annoying nag than make more money. Sure, he still bring down plenty of dough, but you've got to respect a guy who manages to embarrass the government with a show about what school kids are actually eating. That kind of talk will eventually make you unpopular. It's very rarely a good career move to have a conscience. Most chefs I know, where Jamie is on the success-o-meter, they'd be holed up at a Four Seasons somewhere, shades drawn, watching tranny hookers snort off each other. And
Oh my God! Wow! That took a fucking turn that I was not expecting. And so those, since he bleeped it out, what he said is, they'd be holed up at if most chefs that he knows, if they were on the success level of Jamie Oliver, they'd be holed up in a Four Seasons somewhere with the shades drawn, watching four tranny hookers snort cocaine off each other. If you didn't catch that. Holy fuck, that was a turn I did not expect. Yes. That's, like I said, Anthony Bourdain is what people think Gordon is like in the kitchen. He is raw and unfucking filtered.
off each other. Anthony makes some very good points here. You have to respect a guy who makes endless amounts of money, but is actually trying to make some net positive changes to the world. Before even publicly praising Jamie for his efforts, at the Miami Food Festival, Bourdain personally apologized for everything he had said about the naked chef.
I think I agreed for the Observer Food Monthly or something like that. I agreed to have a journalist with me for a weekend in Miami for the food festival. And it's like, oh, what's Jamie doing in America? So you have a journalist next to you for bloody 72 hours. Really clever idea. And day one, we go in there and we're walking behind the scenes, and this is all these marquees on the beach and loads of chefs from around America, and I'm the only Brit there sort of representing, doing demos and getting everyone going. And 150 metres ahead of me, Bourdain's walking up. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's going to kick off. Like, it's going to end up in a scrap. This is going to be a nightmare. Got a fucking journalist next to me. And then as he got to like 20 metres, he started making, and as he got to 10 metres, he just went into this speech about getting it wrong, and that he apologised profusely for everything that he'd done. But to have that apology was epic for me. It was so epic, and it meant such a lot. And as we walked, we got hugged. The wife looked relieved and said, "See you at the bar tonight." And we had a good night on the Raz. And as we walked off, I just looked at the journalist and said, "Might as well go home now."
The ironic thing about all of
Now, here's the important question, Jamie. After that happened, did you finish his book? Yeah? After you got that and you had this epic, oh my god, my hero has apologized for what he said, did you finish his book? Huh? Inquiring minds want to know.
of these chefs is that they have or had unbelievably successful TV careers. So to dislike Jamie Oliver for the very thing that they participated in is a bit hypocritical.
And basically what happened is, and this is an absolute fact, is they hated me because I was a TV chef. But what happens is, from a technical point of view, our point of view, like the Naked Chef Series 1, 6 half-hour programs. Season 2 and 3, 8 half-hour programs. So all over did. Smashed it. Global, like 30 countries, like buzzing. By this time, Bourdain was doing like 80 shows a year. So he hated me and then became me. And this is what happens time and time again. It's like that.
Wait. Fucking wait. Anthony, okay, these are two completely different shows. What Jamie Oliver is spouting off about right now is not the same fucking thing. The Naked Chef was him doing a cooking show. What Anthony Bourdain did is he was visiting restaurants all over the world and sampling their food. This is not the same fucking thing. At all. Anthony was not going all over the world and cooking. He was sampling other foods. He was going to restaurants throughout the world and trying their food and commenting on it and espousing about the food and the flavors and how it was prepared. This is not the same fucking thing, you cock-gobbling idiot. It is not the same thing. And for you to try and treat it that way just shows what an asshole you are. That you are still fucking he's still butthurt. Despite Anthony Bourdain apologizing, he's still butthurt about it. It's still a TV show, Revan, but it's not the same kind of TV show. He said, and I quote, hang on. He said, he hated me and then became me. Yes, this is his interview after the apology. This is the same interview he was talking about before, where he was talking about the apology. And it's not that he became you, because he didn't become you, Jamie, were a TV chef. Anthony Bourdain was a chef that happened to be on TV and was showcasing other restaurants. He was not he was not a TV chef. He was basically a culinary expert showcasing other restaurants. This is not the same thing. The only sameness to it is you were both on TV. That's the extent of the sameness. So please do not fuck with it. He did not become you, and your whiny little ass is still butthurt about it. He was a lot more successful than you.
So he hated me and then became me. And this is what happens time and time again. It's like that, you always hate what's on the other side. And they all say, oh, I'd never do TV. They all do. They all do. They all change.
It's a good point.
Nice. That last one there. That was spiteful. That last part was just spiteful. They all do. They all change. Oh, they say I'll never do TV. They always say it and then they change. It's wow. He is a spiteful motherfucker. Yeah, he's still butthurt. Even after the apology, he is still butthurt because he's bitter and he's butthurt because even though he got the apology from Anthony, chefs like Anthony and Gordon are leagues more successful than him, both as chefs and as television personalities than he is. That's why he's so fucking butthurt in this interview. Anthony will be remembered better than Jamie, Gordon will be remembered better than Jamie, and Jamie knows it. No, Andrea, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to cover Uncle Roger, although there's 2 minutes left. Maybe they'll do a quick thing, but I doubt they're going to talk about Uncle Roger. This is just talking about profession chefs from all over the world, like Marco Pierre White, Anthony Bourdain, and Gordon Ramsay throwing shade at Jamie.
change.
It's a good point. They all basically make the same shows anyway. While yes, Bourdain did it better than anyone, if you take a celebrity chef, put them
No! I'm sorry. Anthony Bourdain's show is not the same as Jamie's. That is wrong. Gordon Ramsay does do both. He's like a traveling chef that showcases restaurants around the world, but he also does TV cooking. So with Gordon Ramsay, sure. Anthony Bourdain didn't. Anthony Bourdain was not a TV chef. So it's not the same. It's a false equivalency.
in a different country and have them try food. Congratulations, you have a generic cooking show. But you know what? That's fine. You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
That's not a generic cooking show.
In reality, the TV...
That's not a generic cooking show. It is not. A generic cooking show is where the chef actually is showing you how to cook, how to make a meal. It's not a cooking show. Is someone actually in front of a camera cooking, showing you how to make food. That is a cooking show. Someone going around the world and going to different restaurants is not a cooking show. It is not the same thing, no matter how hard you squint your eyes at it, because they're not showing you how the meals are made. They're showing you delicious meals from all around the fucking world. Leo, honestly, I kind of can't. I just can't. He's just Gordon.
TV cooking world is a load of bollocks.
At one
the people
point,
watching are
Revan,
never
I
going
think
to
he may
actually
have.
try anything that's being cooked.
I think, that's not what Anthony Bourdain is remembered for. Anthony Bourdain's true success was No Boundaries, where he went all over the world examining different restaurants. I don't even remember him doing a cooking show. I can't even remember him ever doing a cooking show. I only remember him giving us the experience of going to different restaurants around the world and showcasing their food. Not how it was made, but just showcasing food and discussing the food. When did he do a cooking show? And how long did it last? Yeah, it is. He was famed for No Reservations. That is exactly what he is famed for. So if he did do a cooking show, technically he's not wrong. Because I was not even aware, I'd never even heard of Anthony Bourdain doing a cooking show. I'd never even heard about that. If he actually did have a cooking show, then technically he wouldn't be wrong, but Anthony Bourdain's TV fame did not come from a cooking show. That's not where his TV fame came from. His TV fame came from No Reservations, which did not have him cooking. Jamie, well, he didn't do cooking. He kind of did cooking in No Reservations, the school lunches thing. So there is a big difference here. You didn't know? Really, Ryget? Yeah, see, there you go. There's my point exactly. Maybe not so much not knowing he was a chef, but nearly everybody knows Anthony Bourdain from being essentially a showcase, someone who showcased food and was and critiquing the food. They might know he was a chef, but they didn't know. Nobody remembers or even knew that he had a cooking show. I didn't know he had a cooking show. Everybody knows about Jamie Oliver's cooking show, Naked Chef. That's kind of one of the big things that he's known for. So that's why I say it is not the same thing.
It's entertainment. Bourdain hit the nail on the head when it comes to celebrity chefs and their TV shows.
Cookbooks and television shows about food. I mean, most of the people who watch your show, they're never going to eat your cake. They've never eaten your cakes, and they never are going to, but they love your show anyway. For better or worse, I mean, and I say this as somebody who's milking this celebrity chef shit for everything I can get, very happily, it's the new pornography. It's people seeing things on TV watching people make things on TV that they're not going to be doing themselves anytime soon, just like Bourdain. To the extent to which you can change hearts and minds, to which you can convince people, however silly food television may be, to the extent to which you can get somebody to try something new, eat out of their comfort zone, go to a good restaurant, order something they might not, eat a cheek or a hoof or a jowl or something like that, then that's a win for the good guys. So
It is Duffy. God, I haven't seen Duffy in so long. Oh my God. So this is another TV chef. I know him from, he did it was like a reality show. Is he a pastry chef? I believe in Baltimore. Yeah, Duffy, he's a pastry chef in Baltimore. He had a show, I think it was called King of Cakes. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think his show was called King of Cakes. And yeah, he was a pastry chef. They made Cake Boss, that's what it was, Cake Boss. Okay. Yeah, and he had a reality TV show about, was it Ace of Cakes? Okay, Ace of Cakes. Whichever it was, he had that reality show about him making cakes for customers. So his was like a reality show. And Merlin, thank you for the prime. Cake Boss was a different chef. Okay. Yeah, they when I actually watched TV, I would watch those shows like Cake Boss, Ace of Cakes. Yeah, I used to watch those shows. And they were fun to watch, but they were reality TV.
I think even at its very worst, however ridiculous
yes,
this phenomenon
it was Buddy.
might be,
That's right, Pink.
On balance,
Cake Boss
good
is
for the
Buddy.
world.
Most people today still consider Jamie Oliver to be more of a cook or a TV chef rather than an experienced veteran who's seen the front lines of battle for decades. Which is true. He hasn't. He worked in highly respected restaurants, but got famous so young that it didn't allow him to be molded under the same pressure as some of his peers. Jamie became pop music, and the big dogs were rock and roll. While culturally, rock and roll may be more significant, there is a reason why it's called pop. But on the other side, he also really hasn't helped himself with his own
Oh yeah. You know you done fucked up when South Park lampoons the fuck out of you. Okay, this is when you know you have hit the big time meaning. Is when you're on South Park and they're memeing the fuck out of you, you know you done fucked up. Because Matt and Trey do not pull punches.
reputation, which, if you want to find out more about, is well documented on this channel. I mean, there is a million reasons that you could try and force an agenda against Jamie, but at the end of the day, you can't say he doesn't give a shit, which is the true mark of a professional. No matter how much money and influence you gain, you stick to your principles and elevate your craft. Despite not having the same pedigree, he should definitely be respected, no matter how terrible his recipes are. Thank you so much for watching this video, it really does mean a lot to me. Make sure to follow me on all of my socials at Phat Memer, like, subscribe, and comment below what you want to see next.
And Phat Memer does have it right in the end. You know, say what you will about Jamie Oliver, he is still pushing. He's still in the industry. He is actually still in the industry and is still working. And we can meme on him and roast him all we want, but he is successful. He is still, despite everything, he still is successful. And I will respect that he, you know, I'll roast him and I'll meme on him, but he is still successful. Despite the fact that he is derided and hated and made fun of by many people, he is still successful. You can't take and he I will still respect that he is successful and to this day.